Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome. I'm Claire Jones. I'm an author and small publisher. I write queer fantasy romance as well as help other authors get their works out into the world. And we are jumping on for my Authorvision Facebook Live series where I interview the amazing and inspiring authors in my network to discuss the personal visions that have shaped our lives and careers. So if you're joining us, please like, share, comment below, let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to you, CK.
Hi, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were just saying that it's been so long since we last chatted, so
Oh,
we
yeah,
have definitely a lot to catch up on.
definitely. Definitely.
Well, let's start from the beginning. What's your backstory? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'm gonna assume it's kind of similar to a lot of other authors, in the sense that I had fictional friends even as a kid. So, and they kind of just tagged along throughout my entire life, which probably sounds really weird, but that's how it started. You see, I grew up in a country where everything was new.
Mm.
It's not a country where I was born. My parents had to flee there, so everything was very new, and it was very hard for me to like adapt. I was trying my best, but I always looked weird, or people thought, my name sounds weird. So I was like, what? This whole fictional friend thing sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
And I've always been into the creative field. My parents were artists, but I realized early on that I'm not very good at drawing. I'm not very good at that. But writing seems to be my thing. So I just kept doing it. I just kept writing. I wrote a lot of poetry. I wrote short stories. I wrote fan fiction. The
Mm.
amount of fan fictions I wrote about Batman, like I'm not even, it's embarrassing the amount of like a 300-page fan fiction that I wrote in a month. I wish I could write my books like that.
I mean, okay, first off, I'm a DC girly. Second off,
Oh, yeah.
Batman is my DC man. So I'm
Oh,
happy to meet you.
nice. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, I think that's how it started, really. It was more like, trying to fit in, but I couldn't really fit in, but I could fit into my fictional worlds, that I created myself, and like all these cool adventures that happened, and I could just take part in it. But of course, in a safe way, because I've never been like impulsive in real life.
Hmm.
So it was like, this is cool. I like this. This is my jam.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Like, I didn't necessarily have fictional imagination friends, but it was the people in the world around me that took on new lives in my imagination.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I've always spent a lot of time there. Still to this day, I spend a lot of time in my imagination.
I also like, daydreaming about all these scenarios. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I get
That's a
myself
constant for me.
yeah, that's how I get myself to sleep, honestly, is just
Me
daydreaming.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
If like literally, if I'm not imagining something about something that's about to happen in my story, or maybe, something that's happened, I won't be able to sleep. Like it's been like that for as long as I can remember. So
Hmm.
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's definitely some very elaborate imaginative scenarios that get me to sleep.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I do. Sorry, you probably hear my cats in the background. I hope you don't.
I
They seem
don't.
to be.
No, I see them, but I do not hear them.
Oh,
So
that's great. Oh, yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh no, I'm sure if it's important, I'll remember it.
that's okay. So what visions shaped this journey in life or in business? Do you have like an overarching goal that you were moving towards? Aspiration?
I think with how lonely I felt when I was growing up, and I kind of like escaped into my own writing to feel like I belonged, I think probably much like many other authors, I want to make someone feel like, they can be safe in my stories, even though I write a lot of drama and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But it's all about character growth and it doesn't matter. Like mental health is very important to me. So
Yeah.
like I do write a lot about like PTSD, trauma, and these things. And I I like to bring that up because for the longest of time I thought, you know, I'll never be able to feel like I'm safe or that I belong somewhere. But with my books, I want to give the reader who might be going through the same thing or has gone through the same thing a bit of a sense of a belonging.
Mhm.
And I just want to move my readers. Now, if I move them in a positive way, great. Sometimes I move them in a not so positive way.
Yeah, yeah, it happens.
It happens, but that's okay. That's a part of the journey.
Yeah, I ultimately believe that as humans, we want to feel seen, we want to feel heard, we want to
Yeah,
feel valued. Like those are our main motivations in everything that we do. And I
yeah,
think a lot of writers write because they want to help their readers feel seen, feel heard, feel valued. And like you said, feel safe, especially if we don't have, like, we want to give people the things that we didn't have growing up, right?
yeah. That's right. Exactly. That's very important to me. And that's why when some people go, "Oh, are you ever going to write like a rom-com?" And I just can't do that. I think it's too lighthearted for me to write
Mhm.
personally because even as a kid, there was like my teachers always used to say, "This kid has a lot of depth to her. It feels
Mhm.
like she's not a child.
Mhm.
She's an adult in the body of a child, you
Man,
know?"
can I relate to that?
And yeah, and I always felt that way. And probably that's one of the reasons why I just felt like I couldn't get into these little cliques or like, cool things,
Mhm.
I was the nerdy lone girl,
Yeah.
so I think that has really also affected my writing in the way that there is a certain depth that I try to bring out in my writing, and it's not always very light-hearted. I
Mhm.
mean, um, one thing I would love to be able to have more in my stories is like light-hearted humor, but
Yeah.
I have bits of that, but
Yeah.
not quite as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
So like when I see my author friends have that in their stories and I'm just kicking my feet and laughing, like I think that's great. Like it's something I wish I had,
Hmm.
but it is what it is, This is how I write and it's just a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just how it is.
It's very interesting when I talk to authors who do write the lighthearted stuff. And when I ask them about what their motivations are for writing the lighthearted stuff, like they just want to entertain.
Yeah,
And I think that that also applies to that motivation that we have for to feel seen, to feel heard, to be valued, because they're seeing their readers need to be entertained. They're seeing
yeah,
their readers need for the lighthearted stuff. But
yeah,
different writers can provide different things for the readers.
yeah.
Like, I find it very satisfying when I make my readers cry.
Same here.
I'm like, yes, I evoked the emotion, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but that's not every writer's vibe. That's not every reader's vibe.
No, that's right. No, I'm just like you in that regard. I love it when my readers feel something, and um, I don't necessarily go in with the goal of making them cry, but it just happens along the way. And I mean, believe me, I cry too.
I
I
know.
cry
When I'm
out.
crying while I'm writing, I'm like, yes, this is good stuff.
Yes, then this is authentic. This is genuine and real.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. Um, no, I want my readers to feel something,
Mm.
and I've thought about this a lot, and it's I want them to feel happy. I want them to feel the sadness of the characters. I want them to be able to relate. I want the characters to feel realistic. It's
Mm.
not always the easiest thing, but that's why I think as authors, we put a part of ourselves into probably each and every character. Like in
Oh,
Shadowdance,
absolutely.
I would say there are bits of me everywhere. Now, a lot
Absolutely.
of people say I look like the FMC. Well, I wasn't planning on making her look like me, but I grew up like where I grew up in the 80s. nobody looked like me.
Mhm.
Nobody was this dark like me.
Mhm.
Nobody had a, like, I have a pen name, but nobody had a weird sounding name like me, you know?
Yeah.
So in my head, this is the FMC that I created in my head back when I was a child, and she grew up with me. So, you know, but I can't explain that to people every time. So every time people say that, I just go, you know what? It's based on like Zoe Deschanel, you know, new girl, but with brown eyes and not blue, because it makes it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, we can see that. And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, definitely we put ourselves in the stories. And I think
Oh yeah.
that's what makes it genuine. And that's why the emotions are there. And that's why the readers can feel it.
Hmm. And I think that's true, is that there's a piece of us in every character, not just the main characters, too.
Yeah.
Even the side characters. Like when you have to create dialogue with side characters,
Yeah.
it's an interesting process to sink into their POV, even if it's such a minor POV, is like how
Yeah.
would this particular side character respond to the situation from their point of view versus the main character's point of view. And I think that that's a fascinating emotional exercise for writers as well.
Yeah. And I think we kind of learn about ourselves as writers as well when we do this. Because
Absolutely.
I mean, the antagonist in my story is, I've combined everything that actually terrifies me in reality, and I've combined it into one character, and that's why people hate him.
Mhm.
Like, people generally hate him, and I get messages from people who, you know, curse me for it because he's so bad, he's so terrible. But they, this is what actually fascinates me, because these are people who are used to, like, I don't write dark romance, for instance, but
Mhm.
some of these readers do read it. So I would assume, you know, they're used to these, you know, morally gray, almost morally black men.
Mhm.
But then they're so angry about my antagonist. And I'm like, he's not truly morally gray. He's just terrible. He's just terrible. And it's probably because there's a real thing behind that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I didn't just go, you know, I saw it, maybe I saw something cool in a movie and went, oh, I like this guy, I'm gonna make him evil in my story. No,
Mhm.
it's based on all the, you know, the baggage I have through life and these things like this. I
Mhm.
love reading books like that, to be honest. I love it. I wanna feel those strong emotions when I read a book. And I feel like with indie publishing, self-publishing, I get that. I get that from the books.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like trying to throw shade, but sometimes when I'm reading trad published books, I don't get these strong emotions.
Yeah.
But
I was
indie
thinking about
books, I
that.
get that.
I recently read an article from the New York Times that was like the four best fast burn romances so far this year. And
Yeah.
the fourth one was a self pub. And I
Oh,
was
really?
really impressed that the New York Times editorial team took a chance on highlighting a self pub.
That's
And,
amazing.
they provided little summaries of what each of the books were about in this article. And the self pub one definitely had a lot more nuance in the summary than the trad, like in terms of like plot nuance. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's fascinating because it is true in self-pub, you can have a more nuanced plot structure and like motivation structure for the characters than you
Yeah.
can in trad books because you kind of have to do more non-nuanced mass appeal in trad versus
Yeah.
nuanced appeal in self-pub.
Exactly. Exactly. That I think that's so interesting, because this is also one of the reasons why I queried for maybe 2 months, and then I was like, you know what, this ain't for me. And
Yep,
not
I feel
because I
that.
didn't have the patience, not because I was upset about rejections. I wasn't. I know that I don't write to market. I
Mhm.
write from my heart what I feel that I want to convey on paper. Like, I don't cater to popular tropes and trends. I just write what I feel like writing, you know?
Mhm.
And I felt like trad publishing, it's not for me. Like it doesn't, I feel like it doesn't have that space that I need. And especially with, I had a very specific book cover in my head, and I had that cover in my mind since I was 14, when I
Wow.
first started seriously working on my book. And, it's been over, if my math is correct, over 22 years, you know? So I was like, no, self-publishing it is, because I can write my story the way I want to write it. I don't need to cater to specific structure.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll get it edited professionally, all these things. But I had a vision, I had a dream, and only through self-publishing could I do it. I don't think it would have been even the same cover if I was trad published.
Yeah. It
But it
wouldn't
was
be the same
important to
story.
me. Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't. No. I because actually I was gonna publish in Swedish first, because I write in Swedish first and then I translate myself. It's like writing the book twice. It's it's
Yeah.
hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
But
imagine.
it takes a long time. But I remember I first gave my book in Swedish to a Swedish editor, and she said, your language is, it's not overly poetic, but I want to make it more Swedish appeal. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Why don't you want to read something a little bit different?
Interesting.
And I just said, nah, you want $5,000 from me and you want to do this? Nah, I don't think so. Because she gave me an example. She rewrote my page, my first page. And I was like, this ain't me. This isn't my voice. Like,
Wow.
this would probably appeal to a lot of people in Sweden, but this ain't my voice. So I
Also,
was like, you know what?
5,000 for editing is a lot.
5,000. It wasn't
That's a
even
lot.
developmental. It was just,
Oh,
line
thank
edits
you.
and proofreading. That's it.
No.
It wasn't any dev editing. I was like, well, okay.
Oh, thank you.
But that's when I went, you know what? I'm gonna get my Oxford dictionary and I'm gonna start writing in English. Time to translate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah.
love that. Well, we've already kind of talked about this, but what lessons have you learned along the way?
Oh yeah. This one. A lot. So first things first, I thought I was hot shit, but I'm not. That's one way of being brought down. But it's good. But it's good because not everyone's going to rush out and buy your book. Like, some people are very lucky in that regard. And, hats off to them. But the majority of us, we don't have thousands of people rushing out to get our books immediately. It comes with time. It comes
Yeah.
with time. Well, at least for me. So that was one lesson I learned very early on. And I was like, you know what? It's just how it is, and that's okay. The second one is that reviews,
Mm,
and to detach myself from it,
mm,
detach myself entirely from reviews, because on one side, people say reviews are for readers. On
mm,
the other side, people say reviews, you need to read the reviews to learn from them. And
mm.
I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna learn something as a professional author from this, unless all of them are saying the same thing. But if one person is saying this, then that's their opinion. They feel like they want to express their opinion.
Mhm,
And I feel like I'm gonna just detach myself completely. I'm
mhm.
not going to look at them. I'm not going to, pay attention, because it's also better for my mental health, especially if you imagine it's almost like a passion project you've done. Now,
Mm,
some people say don't publish a passion project, but I say do it. Be brave and do it, because publishing is, you have to be brave because you put yourself out there.
yeah.
You know what it's like. You put yourself out there, and then 10 people will love it, and then 2 people might not.
Mhm,
And I feel like with indie publishing, a lot of the time, it's the people that didn't like your book that are the loudest. You know
mm,
what I'm saying?
mm.
So it, it's all about finding that balance, and not let my own self-worth diminish because someone somewhere in the world didn't didn't like my book. It's just
Mhm.
how it is, you know?
Mhm.
So that was one lesson. And sometimes I still struggle with it, but for most of the part, like 97% of the time, I'm pretty good at detaching myself. But it's like when they tag me, if they tag me like in a negative review,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oof, this is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That is personal at that point.
Yeah, then it kind of feels like, but now you're taking it into my domain here. Why am I a part of this? Like,
Mm.
I'm okay with you not liking my book. Like, actually, to the point of if you paid $2.99 for my ebook and you hated it, you really hated it, please get in touch with me. I'll be happy to pay you back. Like, that's I'm not even saying it to be funny. Like, I'm genuine about it. But if you feel that strongly about my book and you feel like, oh, it was a waste of time,
Mm.
just get in touch with me and say, I didn't like it. Can I? Yeah,
Mm.
sure, here, have
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah. That
It's
sounds like a you
okay.
problem, not a me problem.
Exactly. Because we all like different things. Not everyone's going to vibe with
Yeah.
our
Like if
books.
you don't like a book, just DNF it, you know? Like you don't have to
Yeah.
put that much effort into it.
Yeah. Because sometimes, like, and this is why I don't want to read the reviews anymore because sometimes they feel almost like personal, but they don't know me. They
Yeah.
don't know me. They're like, oh, I hate this FMC. Oh gosh, she's so unpleasant and loud. And she doesn't take crap from anyone. No, because that's how it is. I chose to write her for that reason because I don't write the pleasant standard FMCs that everyone seems to love. I don't do that.
Mm.
I want them to be loud and so-called unpleasant because
Mm.
how else are they going to be heard when no one hears them?
Mm.
And, you know, everything's based in experiences, right? As an author. So if people don't get it, well, read the book that you get. Like, I'm not going to force you to sit and read 500 pages of my book, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I detach myself. And I don't want to be tagged in negative reviews.
Yeah. I think you have to look at reviews critically as an author. Like, how much of this review is valid criticism and how much of it
Yeah.
is them just wanting to criticize something.
Yeah. And it's it's funny, like I was sad one time because I was like, oh, this person really dislikes my book, and I felt like I wasted the time. And I said that to my friend, and she was like, she's a bit feisty. One of my characters is actually based on her. Uh, and she was like, well, why don't they write their own book then if they think it's so easy? And I'm like, I can't say stuff like that. She was like, but I can because I'm not an author.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes I think because there are a lot of books being published, and that's great. That's really
Mm.
good. But I don't think a lot of people know how much work is involved
Yeah.
and the emotional strain as well. Like,
Yeah.
we take time away from friends and family to do this because we love this.
Yeah.
And for me personally, it's not about the money because I think for me, if it was about the money, I would try to like get into those trendy tropes and stuff,
Mhm.
but I don't do that. I can't even come up with comp titles because I just write something that is like, what? I don't even know. You know, it's just how it is. And then I think I think my view on reviewing personally has actually changed since I became an author. Because if I feel like a book is less than 4 stars and it's an indie author or even trad published, I actually don't review them because I feel I just think of to myself, you know what? I didn't quite vibe with this book, but I'm not going to say anything.
My limit is 3 stars. If it's under three, then I won't review it.
Yeah. I'm not saying, other people should do like me or like you. It's just how I am because I know how much work is involved.
Yeah, if it's
Like
under three
I,
stars, I won't even finish it at this point. Like I've got better things
yeah,
to do with my time than finish a book that's under 3 stars.
yeah, yeah. Because like there was one book that like the majority of people I've seen online on like Bookstagram or Book Talk, they love this book so much. So I decided to Normally I don't go for these popular books, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go.
Yeah.
And I think I listened to the audiobook for 6 hours out of 11 or 12 hours. And I was like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I cannot take this anymore. For me, I was like, I'm not even gonna review this because I know the author has worked really hard on this, but like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know why I'm gonna put my opinion there because
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'll just keep it to myself. And then if someone asks me, do you have a book recommendation? I say, if you like this kind of thing, this book, I didn't finish it, so I can't tell you if I like the ending or not. But if you're into this, read this. Like, that's my way of seeing things anyway. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Three
don't know.
stars, in my opinion, is a book that I forced myself to finish.
Mm.
There was some underlying reason why I needed to finish it. Like there might be
Yeah.
one character I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
else I hate.
Yeah.
One character that I'm rooting for. Or there's just one thing that I find fascinating about the book. And so I force myself to finish it.
Yeah.
Like there was this one series that I read that I rage finished because there was one ship that I wanted to find completion. By the end of this
Yeah.
3-book series, I read 3 books just for this
Yeah.
one ship, and
Yeah.
the ending destroyed the ship.
No.
And I
No
was
way.
so mad. I
I would
raged.
have been gutted. I would have been
Yeah,
like, no way.
it was this ship was basically erased by time magic.
Oh, what? What? No,
That
that's
was
the
the
worst
ending
way.
of the series. And I was like, that was one of the books that I had to like throw across the room. I
Oh,
was
that's
like, how much
hilarious.
time have I spent on this series and you deny me?
That was, yeah, that was well done.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yep.
Well, any practices or tools you want to give as tips to the audience before we wrap up? Those ways that you supported yourself throughout this journey.
Um, I would say read books in the genre that you want to write.
Absolutely.
But now I've seen a lot of people go, I'm gonna be the new Sarah J. Maas, whatever. Be unique. Read read their books, but you can still be unique and like still be inspired.
Hmm.
Like I've even seen like on some forums that people are like, oh, I'm looking for a ghostwriter. I want them to write exactly like this author. It's like,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah.
even like no, just be unique. But it's good to read in genres that you write because you can learn something from it. Not to get inspiration for something, but just how, you know, sentence structures, the tone of the author. Like I don't write grimdark, but I'm reading like predominantly grimdark right now because I write dark fantasy. It has helped me immensely. So that's definitely one thing. And also another thing, it's so easy we get wrapped up in our little writing dens and we sit there for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you feel like you don't know what to do, take a walk
Go outside.
or go outside. Um, Even meditate. Like I meditate a lot now, and I've realized the value of actually going outside. It really helps. Nature, fresh air, all these things. It really, really helps.
Yeah.
And another thing, reach out to other indie authors. Like
Yes.
I love to help. Like, would you say aspiring
Mhm.
authors, those that still are about to debut? I love to help them. So like if anyone sees this and they're like, I have a question, hit me
Mhm.
up. I love to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think those are the three things I would say.
Yeah, community matters so much
Oh,
because it also
absolutely.
helps you feel seen, heard, valued, and understood
Oh
by
yeah.
people who know what you're going through.
Yes, the in the book talk community is great, I must say. Like it's been very good.
Yeah,
So many amazing people. I mean, we met there.
I know. When
So,
I found Book Talk, my life literally changed. Like Book Talk changed the trajectory of my life. Like,
Yeah.
I've been an avid romance and fantasy reader since I was a kid. Like, I read my first romance novel in third grade. Like, it was
Whoa,
very early. It
that's
was on
early.
accident. I didn't know it was a romance novel when I started reading it, but I soon found out. But I didn't have a community to understand that until
Yeah,
I found Book Talk. Like, no one in
yeah,
my life understood my love of romance or fantasy until I found Book Talk. And I was like, oh my God, where have you been my entire life?
right. I had no idea about it until last year, and I was like, where have I been?
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
was
I was
like,
like, my people.
right? Exactly, exactly. It's been such an incredible journey, and it's incredible that I'm here with you now. So,
Yeah,
everything
absolutely.
just falls together in a positive way. I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it so much.
Well, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
It's been amazing talking with you again, and yeah, it feels like it was such a long time ago, but
I know,
yeah,
ages.
ages. But at the same time, it's exactly where we left off.
Yep.
So
Yep.
no, and thanks to everyone watching this and watching my waffling, because I waffle. When I'm having a good time, I'm waffling. Like there is no stopping. So
Now I
my
want
hat is
some.
off to you, Claire, that you actually managed to pull this and make it into, a good thing because I waffle.
Yeah, well, my 5 planets in Capricorn help me. I may be a double Pisces, but I have 5 planets in Capricorn, so we work
Yep,
together.
that's
This is
good.
powerful stuff that we're talking about here. And audience, we definitely encourage you to join the conversation, share your own thoughts and feelings and stories with us as well. We'd love to know how visions like these have impacted you in your own lives. And special thanks to CK for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so please comment, like, subscribe below. Check out Linktree/Claire Joyance for all of my links. And then where can folks find out more about you?
You can go to ckanderson.com/links.
Amazing. And until next time, please remember that you all have extraordinary stories to share. And I'm here rooting for you as you use them to change the world for the better. Take care, everyone.